Welcome to our podcast. Today I have Amber and Jason Grant, and they're one of my favorite families in the Valley for many reasons, but I'm going to let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit like how long you've been married and tell us about your boys, just to start off with.
Okay, I'm Jason Grant, and this is my wife, Amber Grant. And we have two boys together. Luke, he's 24, and Maddie, he's 19.
Wow.
And Luke they both have
Pretty significant special needs.
pretty significant, yeah.
Special needs.
They both have epilepsy, and Luke, the older one, he has autism. And Maddie, cerebral palsy.
You're doing great. There's a lot.
Yeah. That's a list. Yeah. So, wow, that's a lot for you guys. So how long have you guys been married?
26 years.
26 years. Okay.
Yeah, by the grace of God.
Wow. Yes, because that's not very common, especially with the special needs, not one, but two.
Yeah.
The divorce rate's 87%. So the fact that you two are still standing strong is a huge testimony to your lives. I mean, and inspiration to a lot of people that are going through this, families that have new diagnosis and kids with special needs. You know, it's hard to be there for each other and survive that. So I give you guys a lot of respect, and I have a lot of admiration for you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So tell me, your boy. So, I mean, was Luke diagnosed first? Go back to like how was his birth?
Sure.
Good. Was it normal?
So Luke, there's so many other, medical complexities with each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just to piggyback on the things that Jason was mentioning, Luke does have autism. He has epilepsy, which didn't develop till later in life. And that was a huge blow to us, a huge thing that we weren't expecting. And it's been a big grieving process. He also has an autoimmune condition that Jason also shares with him called Behçet's disease.
Okay.
And Maddie was born with brain damage. And then they diagnosed him with cerebral palsy. But at about 10 years old, he had a spinal fusion done and he suffered a spinal cord injury.
Oh, wow.
So he was immobile, but he was not paralyzed.
Okay.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that were in our life saw that and they were like, well, he's still in a wheelchair. What's the difference? It's a massive difference.
Oh, yeah.
Massive difference in care. And it went from, being able to like wiggle his hips and kick his legs. He couldn't walk, but to not being able to have that, not being able to cough, losing function from the chest down. We went from having to just change a diaper to catheterizing him and doing bowel care and watching for skin pressure sores. And now as we've progressed, we're doing a lot of significant respiratory care, suctioning, breathing treatments, manual CPT, and, trying to move fluid around his lungs. But that's now. But going back, Luke, the pregnancy was normal. I had some high blood pressure, but he was born and we were so stoked for him to be here.
Yeah.
We called him our little burrito because, when you wrap them in the blankets, they look like a flour tortilla.
Yeah.
And he kind of, even though he developed autism, we always say like he didn't have a choice whether he was going to be affectionate or not. Because we just
Covered him.
OD'd him.
Yeah.
Yes,
him all the
yes,
time.
Yeah.
we did.
But he is very affectionate because I have seen him, and he
He
is very sweet. So
He is an extremely special person. And I don't say that. I think it's really easy for people to, I think in their discomfort of these situations with people with significant disabilities, to want to say really nice things to make the situation more palatable.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think we kind of, I guess, fib a little in society because we want to make ourselves feel better, the parents feel better. And so we say things that maybe aren't true. But I can authentically say that Luke is a very special person, and the impact that he has had is very powerful on our family and on our community. And I can say the same for Maddie. I mean, people come up to us, they've come up to us throughout our life many times. People that we don't even know in tears, just moved with, I honestly can't even explain what, moved just by seeing our family interact, by seeing the love that we share, by seeing him just being himself, and even seeing hard things that we just are working through in a very public way sometimes, which makes it hard to go out into public sometimes. But they belong here too.
Oh,
this is their world too.
And you guys do too. I mean, I know you can feel isolated. I have a special needs son too. And so the isolation is real when you are in it 24/7 and you have friends that, they empathize and sympathize, but they don't understand it because they're not there. So they don't know that you can't just make plans and be excited about it because you don't know if it's going to cancel last minute. You don't know what's going to happen. And,
it's true.
all those things. And so people that aren't involved in it, they don't understand like what it took for you guys to actually be out in public, to go to church or to go to a restaurant or to go for a walk on the green belt. I mean, just the preparation it takes, especially somebody like Maddie, who isn't just like, needs a little bit of help. I mean, like you said, with the respiratory and all the things. And I do want to go back to Maddie and the fact that when he got paralyzed, because I don't think a lot of people understand, like you were saying, that being able to move and stuff and then being paralyzed are completely different things. So when you're able to move, you're still getting your organs moving around and you're able to move those things in the circulation and stuff. And when you're paralyzed, that changes everything and everything just stops. And our bodies aren't made to just stop and lay down or sit down for long periods of time. So can you go back to talking about how that changed and was it just overnight that it changed, or was it something that you guys saw gradually that he was losing movement?
Yeah, so I'll kind of go back to his birth too, because I wanted to share a little bit about him when we were talking about his birth. And I was about 5 months pregnant, and I was super excited, went in to find out if it was a boy or girl. Jason took like an hour or two lunch break and came in. My mom was there, and they did an ultrasound, and we found out it was a boy, and we were super excited. And then he left to go back to work. We thought no big deal. And then one of the doctors came in and said, we found a couple abnormalities, and my mom was there.
Oh,
and the exact terminology, I think, when you're talking to someone not clinical, they said that there was a bright spot in his heart and a few air bubbles in his kidneys, and that could be positive markers for Down syndrome.
okay.
But it could be nothing, they also said. And at this point in time, having a 4.5-year-old with autism, that we were in the thick of speech therapy, occupational therapy,
All the things.
applied behavior analysis, intensive behavior therapy.
Yeah. And this was 20 years ago when
It wasn't
those
as common.
resources weren't
as readily
as
available.
Yeah.
So how old was Luke? Sorry, I know we're going to go back and
No,
forth a
that's
little
okay.
bit just because of the storyline. But so Luke was how old when he was diagnosed with autism, or when you guys knew there was something? Because he's your first child together.
Yeah.
And so not really knowing like what
Right.
everybody develops at different ages and does different things. So how did you know, or how was he diagnosed?
He had some words. He probably had about 5 words, I want to
Yeah.
say. Yeah, cool.
Oh,
Cool.
And he was walking. Everything that he was developing normally. The only thing he never really did much was point.
okay.
Later on they tell you all these things, right?
Yeah.
But when he was 1, we took him in for his well child check.
Okay.
He regressed significantly after that. He had 103 fever for about 3 days. He screamed for days. He started vomiting food that he was normally tolerating. Okay. And he just slipped away. He became very ill looking, very sickly looking. And I remember we were on dairy and we reverted back to formula, trying to, we were just trying to figure all these things out. And then our pediatrician, she was very fast about things. She referred him to the infant and toddler program very quickly. And we had someone come out. And I remember this lady, she's local too, and we've been friends forever. And she said, I think your son has autism. And at this point, I want to say he was probably 15 months old.
Okay.
And we definitely knew something was wrong at his 1-year birthday party. We had a couple of people say, is his hearing okay? He wasn't responding to his name.
Maybe you should get his
and
hearing
he
checked.
was prior to
All
this.
that was new.
It was very, very fast. And so we had this woman come and she said, I think your son has autism. And I remember I just hated her.
Sure.
And I just thought she's crazy.
Yeah.
And because the only perspective I had, I think, at that point was, just like a severe and Rain Man. That was so many people. That's our only perspective, right?
Yeah, just 20 years ago. So
Yeah,
20 some years
24
ago.
years ago. And I started keeping a log of all his progress.
Okay.
And I was lying to myself. I was pushing things in that documentation that I was trying to tell myself were better than they were. And I remember we had he was 2. By the time he was going to be 2, we had an appointment set up with the developmental pediatrician in town who's since retired. And I remember it was 3 days before that, and I was praying and I was reading and I was seeking God because I was just wrecked.
Sure.
And I didn't want what was on the other side of that appointment. I think we know things, but you also don't know. And
Sometimes you don't want to know, right? Like
You don't wanna
want to
know.
hear the words. So
And I just remember before the appointment, God speaking to my heart and reminding me that whatever's on the other side, that everything, it was going to be okay because he was going to walk with us through it. And then I journaled it, and there was way more to it than that, but I just know that it was 3 days later, and then he received a diagnosis of autism from the developmental pediatrician, and then we went from there, and I just hit the ground running. I fought
off. And
I fought so hard for him, and it was when dial-up internet was there, and we had this little teeny tiny walk-in closet, and I sat at that computer for hours and hours late at night. I ordered
Researching.
books. I researched. I went to my first autism conference in Chicago. I met other autism moms. I met people that were very controversial, and I'm so glad I did, because those people showed me things and gave me tools that changed my son's life, that gave him a better outcome that he would have had otherwise if I would have just listened to the people that were just giving me the basic information that,
the mainstream.
this was
The
his,
mainstream,
well, this
yeah.
is his life, and just this is going to be your
Accept it
life, and
and-
accept it and move on with no tools, no. And I remember multiple times, we immediately introduced a gluten and dairy-free diet. After I went to this conference, I learned so much. We did a lot of gut healing, probiotics, digestive enzymes, because at that point in time, his diet was so limited. He had 18 of his 20 baby teeth capped because all he would drink is apple juice. And so these are things that I think people think that can't change because their child has autism. And that's kind of one thing I want to say. I think we're taught so much now to presume competence. And by saying they can't do something, or they're not able because of their sensory needs, or because of this behavior, or whatever, because of their autism diagnosis, aren't we presuming incompetence? Aren't we putting the bar low? Don't we want to give them the best quality of life possible? And so I did that. And I researched what true applied behavior analysis therapy looked like. And I started on him. I bought the books from these psychologists, psychiatrists that were written back in the 50s. And I started doing this therapy on him. And so when we started hiring, like getting people locally, I was like, oh no, that's not true ABA, and we filtered through it. And then we got I feel like God has provided the most amazing people in Luke's life. And over and over and over, and people that, these people are not coming just to serve your child. They come and they serve our family. They've been my therapists. They have accepted us as we are. They have pushed us. They have pushed me as a mom. They have challenged me and shown me things. I remember one therapist, I wasn't particularly fond of her, but she would take Luke to developmental preschool, and she brought him home one time and she said, Luke, take your backpack off. And he took it off and he put it away. And I was like, he can take his backpack off.
Yeah, wait a minute. How did you do that?
And he was 4. And she said, yeah. So I was like, okay, Luke, put your, so it just raised the bar. And there were so many moments like that challenged me as a mom with him in particular. Maddie's journey has challenged us in different ways on such a deeper level.
Yeah, when Luke was first diagnosed, they told you pretty much, you can expect this. This is what autism looks like. This is what shape it takes. But with Maddie, they didn't promise anything. They just said,
Almost like
it's
we
up in
don't
the
know.
air.
Yeah.
We're not going to, yeah, they weren't ready to say, he's going to live this amount of time, or he's going to suffer this or that, because
Well, they did give
They're
us
just so
they
unknown.
did give us a prognosis.
Did they?
In the NICU? The doctor.
Oh, in the
neurologist
NICU.
did.
Yeah.
A number, but
Wow.
as far as all the things that he could or couldn't do,
Yeah.
the
And they said,
neurosurgeon was very.
when he passes on, it's going to be because of his lungs. It's going to be not because of his, brain or his circulation or anything. And
His lungs.
yeah, we heard. I remember hearing that part.
Yeah, and that was pretty recent too.
So
They-
just a lot of unknown then at that
A lot of
time.
unknown.
And so which from what I went through with Riley when they couldn't even find a diagnosis, it was an unknown that was so hard because like as long as there's a diagnosis and there's something to work off of, right? There's like a bottom line. It's like, okay, it's got this. Okay. So then you start doing research for whatever that is and go from there. But when there's an unknown, what do you research? Who do you call? What specialist do you call? Where do you make the appointments? I think that part's almost harder in the sense of we don't know. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Your
And I-
doctors, how do you not know?
And when I was pregnant with Maddie, and we've bounced around so much, so I apologize, but it was such an emotional roller coaster when I was pregnant with him. I had just
Yeah.
found out some pretty significant health issues about myself. I was having a lot of anxiety and had made some pretty significant health changes and was kind of on a road that, and then we found out I was pregnant because my body was functioning better. And,
Okay.
and when I found out that, we knew he was a boy and then Jason had left that day, we found out that he had these abnormalities. And they said it could be positive markers for Down syndrome, or they could be false positives. So it could be nothing.
Right.
But
now
when I
I
walked
create
out
that
of that
fear.
appointment, already being like, when I say hit the ground running, researching for Luke, doing everything, that was the mindset, that was the mental space I was in. And I was already what I felt like buried under autism, buried under fighting for one child. And I thought, Down syndrome? And I had a mental breakdown. I remember I had these electric shock feelings that would just come from my head to my toe. And I just had these panic attacks over and over and over. And I couldn't get out of bed for probably about 2 weeks. And they said, well, we'll just bring you back at 30 weeks and recheck. So this was like 20 weeks. So we'll bring you
10
back
weeks.
at 30 weeks
You're
and
just
recheck.
in agony trying to figure out if there's something wrong or.
And once again, I'm laying in bed feeling like I might die from this fear, this anxiety. Like I'm having all these crazy things with my body. I had severe morning sickness till he was probably I was 6 months pregnant. And I've got this 4.5-year-old on the spectrum. And I don't know, again, God spoke to my heart and was like, you have no idea. So get up.
Wow.
That's what so get up. And I just thought, okay, I have this other little life that, and everything could be fine. It could be, they said false positive. It could
Right.
be a false positive. So we start, getting those, we feel like so many times in our life, it's like just a plow to our marriage, a plow to our souls. And then it's like, then the gears just get going again. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So
Just
the
a
gears got
nudge.
going again. And
Just
then,
a little bit of encouragement.
that's right.
A little bit of direction.
we're like,
Yeah.
it's okay. And then
Next
30
right
weeks
thing.
comes along. We do our 30-week appointment and I go in. I thought it's just a recheck, and I went by myself.
Okay.
On a side note, it's just been really strange because when there has been severe, significant things that have happened with Maddie, I've been alone.
Oh, wow.
And it was 30 weeks and I've had this OB for a long time. And they do the ultrasound in the OB office and he walks and he says, I should have known because it was you.
Wow.
That it wasn't going to be okay. And not only did he just have at that point, like I said, all they saw at that point was a few bright spots in his heart and some air in his kidneys.
Okay.
They saw catastrophic brain damage.
Wow.
His right frontal lobe was just obliterated, and the left hemisphere, the left like part, and he had a lot of water in his brain.
Okay. Did they say what caused that, or was it something?
They believe it was a virus that I contracted in a virus he contracted in utero, so some kind of virus that. But they did the whole torch panel, which is like toxoplasmosis, I don't know why they cytomegalovirus, like several of these things, and all of them were negative.
Okay.
But I had a really bad case of influenza, like we call it hotel flu because we were in the hotel. Little Lukey he had just been in the hospital. He was dehydrated from it. We were getting our floors ripped out, remodeled, and so we had to stay at a hotel and we were so sick. I mean, high fever, body aches, and it was that's the only thing I can think of. But either way, they couldn't put a reason on it. But at that point, one of the hardest things, and it was funny because I did an interview with a national person, and I took a lot of online heat for this comment, but I really, that stuff, I'm like, it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But one of the hardest things is when I was like, it could be okay, it could be fine, And I was like, it's going to be fine, false positives, right? And then when I found out it was catastrophic, I thought, Down syndrome, but this is like severe brain damage.
Yeah.
And I thought, when I was thinking it was going to be fine, I even thought, wouldn't it be so wonderful that as we age, if he had a sibling, if Luke had a sibling that could watch over him? Mm-hmm. And knowing that now, it was even more likely that Luke would be watching over Maddie.
Yeah.
Was devastating. And to know as a mother in that moment, there's so many things that you grieve, and that you grieve ongoing. Mm-hmm. But knowing that in a way, I felt like I'd have no legacy, and not even for myself, but your bloodline, no grandchildren, no daughter-in-laws, my family wouldn't grow. Mm-hmm. And, like we've talked about, knowing where will our children go when we're not here? Mm-hmm. Who's going to take care of them to the degree that we will? Will they be safe? The abuse rate is so high in this population. But once again, we cried a lot, we grieved a lot, and it was really odd too, because we had, other people in our family had feelings and thoughts, and it was a bit to manage that, but nothing ever changed for us. The things that we believed, mm-hmm. nothing that it didn't matter.
It didn't change anything.
It didn't change anything. It was just, we were grieving the life that he could have had, or that we thought, what we thought, mm-hmm. but really none of us know,
right?
What our life is going to be.
I think the grief part, though, so some people don't live this life, right? It's like, they don't understand the grief. The grief mm-hmm. is that our babies aren't going to walk and talk at the time that other kids do. Like, for instance, my girlfriend waited till she was 44 to have her first baby because she tried for so many years, finally had her baby. Right when Riley got diagnosed, she was pregnant. And so it was kind of like finally so happy that she was having her baby. Like, this is like she wanted her whole entire life. She was the most giving, generous person. She was born to be a mother, right? She was a mother to all these other people for so many years, and finally had her baby. And I couldn't be around him when he was born for the longest time, because at 6 months he was doing things that Riley wasn't doing. At 9 months he was doing things that Riley would never do. And so I'm like, Angela, I love you. I'm so happy for you. I want to hear all about this, but I cannot be around you right now. Like, it just hurts me so much that I have this resentment, and it's not towards you or towards Cole. It's towards a situation. And people that don't live it don't understand. Like Riley's never walked. He's never talked. He's never said, Mommy. He's never going to say, I love you, and all these things. And it's those things that you do grieve. You see kids playing and running and jumping and dressing up for Halloween and all those things that, Riley, we do it, but it's just different, right? Like, going to prom was different. He'll most likely never walk down the aisle and get married. And like you said, had grandkids. So I think talking about that as a couple because you see her grieve and you see him grieve. And like you said, your family legacy, where that's going to go. that's so hard. So I do want you guys to talk more about that from both sides of what that looked like for you and what it looks like today too.
I feel like the grief is worse now.
It is. It's gotten harder
And why is that?
because they've gotten older, I think.
Okay.
And, times they've gotten older. I'm getting older too. We,
I keep you young, right?
huh?
I keep you young.
Yeah, you keep me young.
So is it that fear of what's going to happen in the next few years?
Well, that's definitely part of it, yeah. But there's also the grieving is like for instance, we had some friends stay with us for a while, and they were watching these YouTube videos of this guy who takes his kids camping in Alaska, and
His sons.
yeah, these two sons, they go camping. They do all these great adventures and stuff. And I was watching it, and it wrecked me because that's not something that I'll ever have with either one of my boys, and it's something I hadn't really thought about in a while because I just kind of put it out of my mind because those were expectations that I had, before they were born, and even after they were born. I thought, well, something might happen. We might be able to do that kind of thing. You just never know.
Right.
And this is the way life has turned out. And yeah, it's a constant process of readjustment of your expectations, and
Without giving up on trying.
without giving up on trying. Sure, yeah.
It's a weird.
It's that blind faith that you guys have that keeps you going. And that's what I admire about you both so much, because you're both so supportive of not just each other, but of the boys, and not giving up on them, and not just settling for saying this is just their life. Like, you guys are very active with them, and as much as you can be, because I know Maddie has a lot of health issues at times, and now Luke too. I think he's been having a lot of seizures lately. Or
Yeah. He, we're still figuring out some of those causations, but the thing that I want to, in a way, I it sounds weird, but I feel sometimes relieved to hear Jason's grief come out.
Yeah.
Because it's not like moms, we're a little more tribal, I guess. We're
in the front lines. We're doing all the
well,
things.
Well, and we're talking about it. I mean, we have to set it aside and put in a box to get the next thing done, and so do they. But I forget how long ago it was, and we were talking about how there's this fear. This guy was talking on Instagram, is there's this fear, this discomfort that men have when they let their grief out to an extent that it's almost creates a fear in their wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this unspoken also.
And it's very true.
Mm-hmm. And so we talked about that, and I just have so much compassion for him. So I always try, whenever just an inkling of that comes out, to make and create space for that, and but it's just really interesting what you said about your friend and the baby. That actually gave me a lot of comfort. I don't know that I've ever really heard anyone else talk about that, because I'm actually in that stage right now. Our kids, like our church community, we were in the same church community for decades. And so our boys were born into our church community. Okay. They were in the nursery. This one guy held Maddie till he was 5 in the nursery.
Aww.
Every time we could take him. But then things changed, and I was like, we knew we had to, so I've been involved a lot. Part of my life has been involved a lot in creating and cultivating disability ministry in churches and training. And
so great.
But it's like, in the church community, it's like walking through mud. It is such a difficult thing, because I think there's still so much mental, spiritual, emotional blockages, clogged arteries in the church about this. And it was hard for us, because as they would grow, so would my other friends' kids. And I feel like it wasn't too bad of a gap that I experienced until junior high, probably, or so.
Yeah, that's when it really started.
It really started to, you could see the gap widen.
Yeah.
And because then their kids would start playing sports. And you would see some kids that were actually somewhat interested or somewhat moved with compassion towards our kids and would interact. And that's when it would stop. And the parents wouldn't cultivate it. And then you have a little bit of pain there because you're like, we're friends, we're doing life together. Why aren't you cultivating this? We talk about discipling kids and, as, in issues like sex and, vocation and all these things, and overseas missions, but you don't cultivate loving a person with disability or discipling your kid enough to have them sit in an uncomfortable situation or love them that cannot love someone that cannot love them back in a way that they can experience. But that doesn't mean they're not loving them back. It's just that we're so designed to get something back,
Right.
And there's so much to be had. There's so much to experience and so much wholeness that we can experience when we have people like this in our life. And I believe wholeheartedly that it's God breathed. It's whether or not we want to show up. It's whether or not we want to receive, whether or not we want to sit in the discomfort, because past discomfort is holiness and wholeness. And, but the thing is that gap widened in junior high, and then it turned from they would start playing sports. They would start competing in sports. They would start, oh, well, my kid went to nationals or this, because I thought, oh, well, we can kind of do some of these things, And then it's then there's competition, and then there's in high school, then there's proms, there's driver's license. Now kids are graduating from college, and now I have friends that their, kids are getting married. And now I even have some friends that their kids have had babies.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say it to my friends. And I have, when you say what you said, I'm like, maybe I should say this to my friends. But I think, well, I don't want to lose my friendships. But the reality is a lot of them are already gone.
Yeah.
They're slipping away. And I want to say, in my heart, I've told Jason, I've cried to him, several times to say, I want to say to them, I can't celebrate with you. I can't celebrate with you. And it's not because I'm angry, but I can't look because this is not my race. And when I look at your race, it breaks me. And then I crumble, and then I can't run my race well.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. But I think talking about these hard things, and even just in this podcast, people that are listening, for them to understand why it's not personal to them. We're super happy for them. We love seeing that they're happy and stuff. But it's almost like our joy for them isn't overshadowed by our pain that what the loss is. It's our pain is still there, and it's still very much evident that we go home to and are in it 24/7. Whereas we get to hear little snippets about their lives or see it on social media, and it's hard. And so I think having those conversations with your friends and saying just what I said to mine, and getting that kind of off your shoulder too, so you don't have to pretend, and because you're not pretending, you do care, but in the sense of that you want to hear more. A lot of times I didn't want to hear more. I didn't want to know that Cole was doing this and doing that and all these things. And it was just so hard. And when I had that conversation with her, it made her understand wow. And she goes, I'm sorry, I've been so selfish. It's it's not you being selfish. I don't want you to feel that way. That's not what it is. It's just, I want you to be joyful. At times I can't hear it. And right now it's just not, because I'm in the thick of it with Riley. So I think that's why you being honest and how you feel today, that's real. And other parents have felt the same way and haven't known how to have those conversations, because that's uncomfortable too.
Right.
And I think when you're talking about people that are around our kids, and our church is great. We don't have a ministry for kids with special needs, but they're very welcoming. I mean, that was the first church that would actually baptize Riley, because none of the other churches would, because he couldn't verbally say that he accepted Jesus Christ. It's he's the most pure soul you'll ever make. Why wouldn't he? That's the only thing that's ever gotten us through this life and stuff, And so with them, but they come up and say, is it okay if I talk to Riley? Is it okay if I hug Riley? And the fact that they just ask is so meaningful to me, because how do I talk to Riley? They want to know, and they're curious.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that's the question I want to ask you guys. If you could give other parents advice, or say, hey, if you just ask me, if you just talk to me or talk to my son, we want you to talk to our boys so badly. We want your kids to talk to them. What would you say? What would be the number one advice for them and for their children?
Maybe you should answer that, because you'll answer it in a more loving way, because I've become a little more spicy over the years about this.
And that's okay, because they don't
So I'll
know.
let you answer it in the way that you would, because you're so
Okay. I would much rather have somebody come up to us in public and say something to the effect of, how can I reach out to your son who is retarded? And use that word. I would much rather have somebody say that than ignore him.
And retarded is a very harsh word for me.
It is.
I never
It
get
is.
offended. There's a lot of, I mean, it would take a lot, but that word offends me pretty easily. So the
Me
fact
too.
that you're saying that,
How severe.
how severe, and that's what I want to
Versus
reiterate
ignore.
is like, right. Ignoring is such a, like, we're not seen, they don't exist.
and
it's
this is
like,
where my
we
spice
do.
comes in.
Yeah.
You're a coward.
Yeah. And say that though, but that's what we
That's
know. It's
how,
like how we feel.
because
It's
if
like,
you do something, it's like so many people have said so many stupid things to us, but
Yeah,
we're
we
not
have.
really like, I mean, you kind of go, whatever. And what's sad is that as special needs families, we're like, oh, a breadcrumb, thank you.
yeah.
That's ridiculous. We shouldn't be functioning like this anymore. We live in an age where, like, I mean, we were ranting about it the other night. He's like, do you see this little device, my phone? The world is at your fingertips. You can learn anything.
We have the whole extent of human knowledge right here on my phone. Read a book.
Yeah.
Read
Figure it out.
It's unfortunate.
But why do we have to help you? And then I think what I'm seeing a lot in that I think makes me frustrated is, so when people see this that are not other special needs families, I hope they hear this loud and clear. Please stop putting it back on us to educate you and to make you feel comfortable and to make the situation palatable for you. And I think what I'm seeing a lot, and I've been told this by mentors, by people in the church community, because when you have anger, you have grief, and you have frustration about things people have said or people have done,
Sure.
the way they've rejected your kids. We're not, my kids have never been invited to a birthday party unless like we've gone as a whole family and it's been like a graduation party, or something like that. These people that I've walked through life with have never invited my kids to a birthday party, and it's a, hi, Luke, and like, and having them say hi to Maddie is, it's like you're just expecting so much of people because he's got drool or because of whatever. And I'm like, do you know what's inside your soul?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
If you're a human, you got some pretty gross stuff in your soul. Yeah. So if you can't handle some drool or standing in a moment with a seizure or just even saying hi to someone that can't like physically shake your hand back or just be in an uncomfortable situation, what does that say about you? Maybe your kid can, compete at nationals, but can they hold space and stand in a room with my child with love?
Yeah.
Because but the thing that frustrates me is what we're told a lot is, when you're grieving to someone and you're talking to someone like, this was so painful when this happened. Someone says, this has happened so many times. Well, they just don't know what to say. They just don't understand. They're just kids. I have no tolerance for that anymore. I just am like, we live in an age where it's a you problem. And what that is it's gaslighting. Because what you're asking is the person that has the least amount of bandwidth, that is carrying the greatest burden, the greatest weight to do more lifting. To say, well, people don't know what to say. And then you're putting it back on them like, you just need to be more gracious. And I'm just like, 24 years in, we have had so much grace. And I'm not done by any chance because God is so gracious to us. But I think there's also truth and love that needs to be spoken sometimes. That maybe there's areas where people are slacking in their spiritual development, in their emotional development. And it's okay to say those things. Because if you can require more of us, who we are putting everything on the line every day, from the minute we get up, and I'd say till the minute we go to bed, but when, like that, like
It's
what is
beyond
bed?
that? Yeah.
Bed is, like
It doesn't
sleep
stop
is-
when you guys go to sleep. It's still,
Well,
you're
sleep
still
is, a lot right now, but it's just, I'm getting the point across, but I think it's really important to stop, putting that back on the families. I think you'll be okay if you can figure that out. That's what I feel like. You'll be okay. And let's just have a conversation. And when I've done trainings and things like that, I've given space. I've said things. When you can say things like, it's okay that you're uncomfortable. It's okay that this is hard, but lean into it. Ask the questions, and ask us. We're okay with that. And for him to say that was such a good analogy. Like, I would want to punch someone that said that word.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but
Yeah.
what but the pain from ignoring our child,
Yeah.
ignoring them. I mean, even when we get a smile, it's like relief when we're in public. It's like, you're okay here. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And not the pity smile.
Not the,
No.
oh, like, let me pat you. But it's like,
A joyful, like
yeah,
happy to see
welcome.
you smile. Yeah.
Happy to see you here, you know?
It's interesting that until people go through it, a lot of times I don't get it, right? And so it's just that there's a lot of people in society now that lack empathy, literally lack it. Like they just can't relate to anybody. And so, and it's gotten worse. I think it's because they are just so in tune to their own lives and their own phone and that they're not looking around and seeing what other people are going through. You know, they're so involved and not making excuses. Again, it's just like, where do we, I mean, we have to start putting out content to these families, you know, that have normal kids that don't have, you know, special needs. It's like, what does that look like? Just like, you know, what's so funny to me is that with the gay society and how we have to do this and that's like, they've trained everybody and like how it's so offensive doing this. And that's like,
Right.
Yeah, you just
wait a
write
minute.
pronouns.
Like,
Yeah.
again, going back to the, you know, the community that has been forgotten. It's our community where it's like, what about us? Like, what about,
And that's
we
the
want
thing.
our kids to be seen. We want our kids to
Yeah.
have these things. We want our kids to have bathrooms that you can change them and not on the floor or not in your car. And these things, it's like, why is it so hard to be seen?
What's funny is that we have taught our children, mostly Luke, where we, you know, in these areas, how to function and be appropriate in society and in public more than other people have taught their children
Right.
about how to interact with him and how to be appropriate. I mean, I have felt, I don't know if I'm sure people watching this, like the little Pixar short called Float. And it's this dad, and he has a son with autism, and his son floats. You know, he gets excited and he starts floating. And the dad loves it at first, but then he goes outside and then people are staring at him and, you know, talking about him. And so he starts to put rocks in his bag
To keep them down.
to keep him down so that he will
Just
look
the
normal.
analogy. Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how much we have spent time doing that. And I hate it. And there's this thing as a mother that's being ripped apart inside me where I'm like, if I don't help him stay contained in a way that, so your first view of him will make you want to interact again.
Right.
But that is so ridiculous that it's not my responsibility.
No.
I mean, we're, you know, but at the same time, like the reality is we're talking about this, that if you don't do a lot of the things necessary for these kids that are struggling with more severe things, as you age and as we are unable to do more, you're making their life harder because in a way you're making their rate of abuse more likely. They're by giving them more tools, by pushing them to their, you know, by challenging them, by doing the therapies, doing all the things, by giving them everything they could possibly have so that they can be the most independent as possible, or so that they could be able to communicate the most. You're creating the best scenario for them to be the most able to stay in their communities, to be safe. Does that make sense? And so there is that balance, but at the same time, I find myself getting so angry at Luke in public when he has a meltdown. And it's not because of him. No. It's because I feel daggers
eyes and
all
stuff,
around
yeah.
me. And I feel like he's being judged. And I just think,
Yeah.
but if we
You're
had
being
if we
judged.
had a meltdown, like we've had meltdowns at family gatherings at my house, and I mean, you can definitely feel everyone gets silent. There's it's such a heaviness,
Yeah.
but no one leaves.
Yeah.
Do you hear what I said?
Yeah.
No one leaves.
Yeah.
Everyone stays. They're not abandoning Luke
Yeah.
because he's in a different place because he's struggling. And there are some people that they see a trauma and it's fight or flight. They leave, you know, or whatever. But I just think, you know, we have to face hard things every day. We've watched seizures. We've watched our children stop breathing. We've watched them turn blue. We've been beat up, but we've had to fight for so much. And if we can do that, I feel like people can tolerate it for a short period, you know?
I think it starts with education from families like ours that we actually go out and talk to people. So whether it's something that we start doing in schools when at elementary age where they say, you know, there's different people, right? There's different kids. Like Riley's been at school and, you know, luckily he's been very able to get out and people I guess, entertain with him and stuff. But there's some kids that just are, it's not comfortable for them, and I can see it. But at that age is where we have to get like, this is, there's more, right? I remember in high school, or actually in elementary school, I mean, I think there was maybe one special needs person in that school.
Right,
Like, I mean,
right.
maybe. And I
Yeah.
can't remember if there was one. I know there's one kid that was a diabetic and he had a seizure in the cafeteria one time, and that was it. Other than that, we didn't have a resource room. We didn't see any of
Yeah.
it. So were they just stayed at home? They just didn't go to school? Like what was, like, there's a huge amount now, right? So I think it's up to the schools. I think it's up to us parents to go and educate them at an early age. And, the kids will go home and talk to the parents and say, hey, this is what I learned today. And so that when they do see something, because again, until they walk through it, it's like they just don't know. It's like somebody battling cancer, right? It's like they
Yeah.
weren't very in tune until it happened. Now all of a sudden they're all about cancer. It's like, my parents, this is something that's such a different analogy, but they lost their house to a fire. I'd never thought about somebody losing their house to a fire. Like, oh, that sucks. But you don't, until you live through it, right? And all their treasured memories and everything was gone. It's like you realize, like,
becomes
just,
real.
yeah. So again, until they live through it, they don't understand it. But I think it's up to us and you guys being, like you said, like just being mad about it, because when we are mad about something, that's when we make changes. That's when we get to the other side of comfort and say, okay, we're going to like start teaching people how to interact with our children and how to be polite and how for their kids to be polite to our kids and things. I think that's super
And
important.
to give, if we're doing so much emotional intelligence training with children now, like literally just like, how are you feeling right now? I mean, so much like child-centered consumption of.
Tell me about your feelings. And
Can't we do that if we walk in and they're like alienated or grossed out by a special needs child?
right.
Ask them how they're feeling. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about why we don't need to feel that way, or why we, is that loving, or how would you want to be treated, or whatever the question is. There's been so many times where we have had kids, and it happens every day. Every time we go out. Every time we go out, especially with Maddie. And a lot of kids are intrigued, I feel like, by Luke. Because he looks kind of normal, but then he'll start hopping, or you can tell. But, I mean, literally just the other day, this little kid, Luke was, stimming. And we were walking by, and this kid drives by on his bike, and I hear he was staring. He's not talking right. And I was just like, I want to have, and I'm probably going to create a little card, like almost like a business card, and it's going to have, and I'm going to hand it to parents.
Yeah.
I mean, kids have literally, we've seen, multiple kids have tripped and fallen. I mean, gawking so much. And I mean, I don't believe in karma, but
But
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
But I think it is hard because I'm doing everything I can as a parent.
Right.
And I just think this is such a small thing, and we're educating constantly about racism and about, gender issues and about, the environment and about all these things, why we should, what would make them a good human. And I'm like, and this is the biggest, it is in my mind, the biggest failed issue in parenting.
100%.
And because we're everywhere. If 1 in 33 kids are being diagnosed with autism now, it's everywhere.
Oh, 100%.
And and the whole thing, that's all the conversation that's happening right now, not all of them are going to be able to be, not all of them are going to be high functioning. Not all of them are going to be speakers. Not all of them are going to be, there's going to be you're going to see a lot of public meltdowns. You're going to see a lot of stuff. And these families need community. They need help. They need acceptance. They need to feel like they can breathe in public. They need to feel like
They're not going to be stared at.
they can take up space there.
Yeah.
Their kids can take up space there. Yeah. And it's like, it's so hard when we go to other events with special needs families. It's not hard because it's wonderful, but it's hard when I'm like, man, we should feel this way everywhere.
Right.
Like we let our guard down, but we should be able to feel this way everywhere.
I think just like going back to people just don't know what they don't know. And it's, again, not an excuse, but just taking Millie I hadn't taken him on a trip on an airplane for quite a few years just because he's gotten heavier and harder for me. So now with Marty, we have, and remember last year we took him to Arizona and I'm at the airport and there was nowhere to change him. We'd been there for a while. And so when I put on my post, it's like, this is just a bare necessity that we need as a society, is somewhere to change people that are, need help, that are more than, 50 pounds are going to fit on a changing table. Like, what do we do? And so many people were like, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that. And I'm talking about people that are elderly too, that wear diapers. Like, where do you change
Yes.
them to, like,
Yeah.
wheelchair bound? Like, what's going, like, this is something that should have been done years ago,
'Cause
right?
these are not
years
just special needs kids.
everywhere.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
and so what you're talking about, I think it really does start from families like ours, where we do get, like, going back to getting mad and making a change. And unfortunately, we're going to have to be the ones that educate the people. And so that they can educate their kids. And yeah, it's just one more thing to add to the things that we need to do. But I think where I'm at with Riley, and that he's in a safe, in a home that is loving, and he's doing well, like he's progressing and stuff. But I'm somebody that has a time as a parent that now can do these things, because you guys are in the thick of it. Like, you don't have one more thing to take on. So I think if I just sat back and said, oh, my son's taken care of now, I can relax and just enjoy my life now, I couldn't live with myself doing that. So that's why we're doing Riley's Residence. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. That's why I'll be somebody that, hey, this is something that I can go and take to schools and to churches and places where it's like, we want to do speaking engagements so that we can educate other families that don't go through this, of what it's like for us, because they
Good
don't
for
know.
you. I think
That's
about
great.
advocating right now because I want to, like, in real time change things
Yeah.
as we are going through them. But I think about our youngest, Maddie. When we say he's medically fragile, he's extremely medically fragile. He's in, I guess what you would say is the night hours of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about what I'll do. And I think about what you're saying, and I think I would just sleep for months. I mean, I think we're so tired, but at the same time, kind of just circling back to our marriage, there's been so many conversations where, I've done a lot of check-ins about things like this. One of my greatest fears is, as things have progressed or declined, I should say, with
Right.
Maddie, I've looked at Jason and I've said, do you think we're going to make it? Do
So
you
we're
think
not just trauma bound.
trauma bonded?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've read about being trauma bonded, and it's not all negative. Because sometimes, like in an abusive relationship, people are trauma bonded.
That's the toxic part of it.
That's the toxic part of it. But we are trauma bonded.
Of course.
But there is a lot of things that have joined us together, But I think too, it's like when you're doing this life, like we are, there's such a state of hypervigilance. There's such a state of, you're just moving from one thing to the next and the next. There's no time to grieve. There's no time for EMDR. There's no time for counseling, at least not a good one. And if your insurance covers it, and all that stuff.
And by the time they start figuring out, you've already used half of your visits, and you only have those, like,
I know. So you're just going to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And I think I have a lot of fear about when Maddie goes to heaven for 1,000 reasons. But mostly, I mean, we're a family of 4. Mm-hmm. That is what we are. Mm-hmm. I cannot picture anything else. Yeah. And I have to hold this weird reality. We hold this weird reality that the reality that he will die soon there's no way around that, aside from a miracle. And that could happen, but it's not looking like that. And so knowing that, and living in today and loving him and living our life, and Jason going to work, and me advocating, and me grocery shopping, and me doing things with Luke. And I will say that is a hard thing to, I have 2 very, like, they're both severe in their own way, but Luke can do so many things that Maddie can't do. And I feel so much guilt. I feel like I'm neglecting Maddie. I feel like I'm cheating Maddie. I feel like when, Luke plays, and thank goodness there's a local nonprofit, they do adaptive sports, and they do like once a quarter, they do a day, a couple hours for kids like Maddie. And we've been invited, and thankfully they didn't give up on us. They kept sending us the emails, but Maddie had been so sick and so significant. Like we were like, we can't leave
take
the
them.
house.
Yeah.
Because we're either on oxygen or we're suctioning or we're all these things, and he declines. Like his left lung will collapse if he gets in a respiratory crisis, and then we have to get him out of that, and lots of seizures. Anyway, and I remember thinking, I don't think he's going to make it to one of these. And we went 3 weekends ago, and I was so happy, and because people don't talk about this dropping off point, but when both our kids are, one is 24, one's 19, the dropping off point when you're no longer in school is catastrophic for so many reasons. You lose community, you lose resources, you lose just human to human contact every day when you drop off your kid and pick up your kid. And for them, they're losing community and routine and resources and stimulation in ways that I've gotten pretty good at this stuff. I homeschooled for, 2.5, 3 years. Homeschooled Luke for when he was struggling. So I've gained a lot of skills in that way, but it's a lot for me to try to find volunteer opportunities and fun things. So I'm so grateful for these places in the community that are doing this, because what they're creating is a space also. So they're not just creating a space for the kids to continue to do something. They're creating a space for these other families to be around other families. And, but that day that Maddie got to go, I mean, we got smiles at him, and Luke helped him play some of the games, and seeing that was just that it just, but I have this pain that I carry, that all the things that Luke is able to do, even on a different, but in those, he can't even, you know what I mean?
Right. That
Maddie can't do.
Yeah.
I mean, shopping, people, every Christmas, every birthday, I walk down the aisles and I cry.
Oh yeah. Same.
I pray and I pray, God, show me what I could get for him. Show me what I could give to him. Show me what would be meaningful for him. And we just realize more and more, like, it still doesn't go away, but we're trying to receive and accept that the best thing that we can give him, because his Easter basket's still sitting on the, like, we haven't gone through it all.
Yeah.
Sitting there taking the time, opening all of it with him, and is he having a lot of seizures that day? Is it really gonna matter? So, we just wait. Like, we open Christmas presents for him, take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just
No.
it's just so hard for those kids with such significant issues. It's hard to find things that, because as a parent, you want to give them everything.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what I pray, and I'm like, all the things that I want to give to them, I can't. And so Luke loves Disney. Oh my gosh. And Pixar and Lego just released all these Disney things. And I don't even know how I came across this email. And I was at the Lego store, man, like 3 hours into it, and they were almost sold out. But I got stuff for the next, I think, birthday, Christmas,
yeah.
several things,
Yeah.
because he's started being, he's gotten really good at building Legos, and and he loves the Disney stuff, and we need more shelves in his room.
I love that.
It looks like Disney threw up in his room, and
But it makes him happy. So it's like,
we just bought him. I was like, again, when you can't give them, there's these ways that you're kind of compensating to some extent. I think he can't have gluten, he can't have dairy, he can't have dye. So we go to a lot of events, and he can't really always participate. I've gotten pretty good about bringing stuff, but like, not to mention talking, sports, traveling, all the things that kids his age should be doing. We had a nurse that was Maddie's nurse, and I didn't realize that for a long time, but I kept forgetting, but we would go on the Greenbelt and go for walks, and she'd come with us. And there was one time her and Luke sat down, and she was like cool with Luke and her enjoyed hanging out. And I realized, oh my gosh, she's
They're the same
1 year
age.
older than
Yeah.
Luke.
Oh,
They're
wow.
peers.
Yeah.
We went to BSU basketball game. He loves them. BSU football games, loves them.
Yeah.
But I was watching all these basketball players. I started crying. I'm like, these guys are all his age.
Going back to the gift giving, I think that's where a lot of parents, especially when their kids are young, and I have the same problem. I go through the same thing with Riley. It's like, what do I get him? Like, And then now I'm learning with spellers, and they're able to be open, and they say, I wanted age appropriate gifts. So then now I feel guilty for giving him these toys for so many years now, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, if he could talk to me right now or communicate with me, would he be mad too for me giving him these toys and stuff? So I've been more aware, I guess, of thinking like maybe he just wants normal stuff, like,
Yeah.
and for him it's experiences, I think. So we're trying to get him out and do more experiences, whether it's something small, like he loves movies and things like that. But yeah, so we're just trying to get that. But I think parents that are going through it in the middle, you guys have been through it for 24 years. So I've been through it for 18 years. And so we're kind of, unfortunately, veterans at like just knowing when these holidays come up, it's not going to look the same that other parents get. Christmas morning definitely doesn't look the same in our house. And for me, I have kids that are healthy and normal and got to do all the things that Riley will never get to do. And so watching them open presents, whereas Riley's just kind of playing with whatever and not even, doesn't even care. Or I think he doesn't care. I don't know, right?
Right, right.
I think that's hard. And parents going through it now and going through it when it was still new to me was very, very difficult. So I don't think that ever goes away. And I think that's what parents are learning from this podcast now, is that doesn't go away. You just learn how to deal with it. It's a new way of life that we have to go through. But I think that what you guys are doing and the fact that you share it on social media, that you're out doing all these things and stuff, is so important to families to give inspiration.
She shares it on social media.
Yeah. Which is good though, because parents need to see like, I can still go out and do these things, and we can. It looks different and it takes a little bit longer and stuff, but I think it's important because isolation, we're not meant to do life alone, and we're already isolated in our families anyway. And so to get out there and show people that you guys do those things together and you go out on date nights together, that gives people hope that it's okay. And you need to have those nights, and they're far and few between. I know that, but the fact that you guys still make that effort for each other is so important to share with everybody, that it's a conscious effort that you guys do for each other. And it's like you say, okay, we need this time as a couple, is so important. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that life with us.
Our time together. He's my best friend.
She's my best friend.
And it was so funny when we were doing marriage counseling at one point. There was this book, and one of the biggest things that they talked about that God created marriage for was companionship. And I was like, companionship.
And she
I was like,
hates that word.
Because when you're a woman and you get married, it's like there's all this stuff in the world about romance and about what you think it looks like, right? And all these movies and all the ways that love has influenced, and
companionship is not romantic.
It's not sexy.
It's not sexy, right? Yeah. And what has been developed in us over the last few years, I mean, I depend more on his friendship now than I ever have, and on that connection and on his companionship, on just doing life with someone so wonderful, on doing, life with someone that's taken the time and remained committed to learning me, to, what are the big words we're using? All the skills we're learning. She said one earlier.
Empathy.
He's like, that's one. I got to say that fast.
Validation.
What was that one?
Validation.
Validation. Yeah.
Empathy, validation.
Yeah, and the companionship, it just makes everything else so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to find things that I'm very active. I've had to fight for my health a lot, and I don't know that I love exercising, but I know it's good for me, but I've learned to like it in a lot of ways. But he,
it's not his thing.
Don't love exercising. I've gotten him into a gym like 2 times with me in all the years of our marriage. But he's like, I could mountain bike. I love mountain biking. So last summer, we bought mountain bikes. Mm-hmm. And we've had the best time. Okay. And we've seen we got like developing our skills together like that. And, but I mean, I'd like to say, and I just want to share the story because I feel like it's a testimony of our marriage, but I'd like to say it has been a couple things. We've worked really, really hard. And I say worked really hard, not on just skill development and, but we've worked really hard, like surviving some awful marital stuff, that we just have had to trudge through. And the reward is just huge. But it's interesting because when we met, I fell completely in love with Jason. It was love at first sight, and I didn't obviously. And so when I say romantic, but it was, I mean, we both felt this. We had known each other already, but we felt this like electrical connection immediately.
Yeah.
I see it still there. I can just wait you two look at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were both afraid to, we called it the L word because something so significant we knew was happening. It felt terrifying
Yeah. Because what happens if something happened to that? And
to say, I love you.
Yeah. And just how soon it came on. It just didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. And it was so interesting because we fell so hard for each other, and my faith was very, I just knew my faith was very strong. I knew the truth. I was definitely not walking well in it. I wasn't being a very good example. But I started sharing with Jason because I was so in love with him, and I just wanted to share with him, and it was so important. And he used to say, he told people, what did you say? She's so cool.
She's so cool. I love her. She's just great. I love her. I'd probably marry her if she just quit talking about the Holy Spirit and Jesus and stuff.
that's funny.
I'm so glad she did.
Yes.
I'm so glad she kept.
And what's so crazy is his faith is 1,000 times stronger than mine now.
It's beautiful.
And he's just like the buffalo in the wind, just, you know? And God knew I needed that. God knew we needed that. But it was so weird because we were laying on the couch and we were dating, and we didn't need TV. I don't think I ate for 3 days. It was seriously crazy. And we joke and we say we didn't even have bad breath.
Oh.
Like, but then something switched within a few weeks. I'm like, oh no, your breath is bad. That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
But
The infatuation is there. It's just not as
and they say these are actually like neurochemicals that are happening when you're first falling in love.
funny.
So, but I said to him, I feel like we have a love that could walk through fire.
wow.
And it was a very,
words.
at that moment, it was a very, like, I feel like we have a love that could walk through fire.
Yeah. I thought, oh, that's so sweet. Okay.
For
And
how
I had
profound that
no-
was
I had
then.
no idea.
And now I know that I don't know where everyone, it doesn't matter, but I believe it was prophetic. I believe it was like speaking something that I wasn't even fully aware,
Right.
And because I look at everything that we've gone through from not even just the perspective of our children, but what we've each, grown up with, and the trauma we've grown up with, and how we
brought into our marriage.
what we brought into our marriage.
Jason, from a father's point of view, I mean, like she's doing all the research and stuff. You're going to work and putting food on the table and stuff, and then getting home from work and seeing your wife, deal with the 2 kids, taking care of them all day while you're at work, and then you have to come home and you want to help relieve her or talk to her. Like, what was that like for you? And I wanted you to speak to other fathers that are going through it right now, that, you have a heavy weight on your shoulders too, because you're the one that's keeping the lights on. You're the one that's going out there and making sure that she can stay home and take care of the kids and do these things. I mean, it's on a whole different level when you have a wife that is doing all the things and going above and beyond and doing all the research and stuff. What does that feel like for you? And how did you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
All I can say is that the best way that I can take care of my kids is by taking care of her, and trying to make sure that she's okay. And I'm not always good at it. I mean,
You've gotten
sometimes
so good at it.
there's sometimes I fail pretty hard, but I think that that's the main thing. I think that's my main role, is to take care of her, because she takes such good care of our kids, and she's always been the best advocate that they could have ever had.
Yeah.
She's always stepped up to whatever challenges come, and she's always dealt with the doctors, the administrators, the teachers, insurance, yeah,
All the people I don't like dealing with.
therapists. She's faced it all head on, and she's always stayed really strong, and it's not not my gifting, what she has for sure. So I try to encourage and provide for her gifting, because she truly is gifted.
That's beautiful.
And the way that I have figured out, because I've always felt like, what can I do for him? What can I buy for him? What can I, with our life, like, what can I do? And over and over and over and over, I'm just reminded that the best way that I can love him, the most that I could ever give him, is for me to stay connected to God.
Mm-hmm.
For me to get refilled and loved, and to work on myself, to work, if I could just, and it doesn't mean like never be a train wreck, because that just like happens in our life.
Yeah,
And it happens, and it
That's
happens
inevitable.
given our, like he said, we both brought a lot of baggage into our marriage, and we had a lot of trauma, and we didn't have, that was one thing I want to say to other families, is that other families that don't have special needs kids, but other families that do, that are still married. When you have someone that has a nuclear family, like they're already in front of the starting gate. Like there's already so much developmental benefits to growing up in a family that's whole to some extent. And I'm not saying without just, there's dysfunction and things like that, but I just think when you have a mom and a dad and you're in a healthy family, like both him and I grew up with single moms, and divorced and remarried a few times. And I mean, we had both grew up in blended families. And so that's what's crazy, is for both of us, the picture of marriage, we had no picture.
Yeah. There was no role model of a healthy marriage.
And so there's a lot of things we got wrong, or there's a lot of patterns that we, have had to correct. And, but I think that because special needs families are carrying so much, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, if you're already starting behind the 8 ball in these ways of the baggage you bring, we talked about this the other night, there comes this guilt where, like, he's had it. He's like, I'm not where I want to be. I should be in a different place. We should have these different things. We should have X, Y, and Z in retirement. We should have this. And I feel like as a woman sometimes too, I'm like, oh, I haven't written a book. I haven't started a nonprofit. I haven't done this world that we live in, right? Because we think of the things that we're supposed to be doing that are important. But those are not the important things to God, always. And the things that are holy, the things that have such a massive impact, are things
eternal.
that are eternal. They're unseen, oftentimes. They're quiet, they're thankless. But the things that are most honorable, the most holy, are done in quiet. And I just want to say that because I feel like so many moms, so many dads that are doing this, you do this day in and day out, and no one sees, no one's cheering for you. There's no report card. There's no
Pat on the back.
there's no pat on the back. What's the other thing that, like, a review, like a
Reward. Oh,
Yeah.
because that's one thing I say to him. I'm like, sometimes I've cried. I'm like, you have people that say you did a good job, and you get a check, and they love your work, and
you maybe get a promotion. You get something.
Well,
you get-
and but there's no things like that. But there, that doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't so holy and so honorable and so vital, absolutely vital to our society. And but I think there's this burden that people that come from dysfunction, that come from a hard place, like both him and I came from, that we ought to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if we started already behind the 8 ball and we're where we are now, how amazing is that?
Oh, I look at you and take all the materialistic things away from the world, right? Let's just talk about your family and your relationship, and what you guys have is so much more important. And like you said, it's unseen, right? It's like that's more holy than anything that you could ever buy, own, drive, live in, anything, right? And so to me, it's like you guys are way ahead than, and it's something that you understand, that because now that you felt like you were behind and stuff, what you have now is you're more grateful for, you treasure more, you honor more, Whereas people that had those things growing up, maybe had a simpler life and stuff, take it for granted and they don't understand. And that's why there's so many broken marriages because of that, right? And so it kind of, you guys have already had a struggle.
And the
so,
other thing too is keep in mind what I want to say to people too is that families like us, where we're clocking in, tick, 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 and the time that's being spent doing that, other newly married couples or other couples that are 5 years in or where their kids are, they are, you know, they've been working on building their retirement or saving this or building their business or doing that, but we're same clocking in every day, right? Mm-hmm. So the time that they've had, the bandwidth they've had to put that in isn't bandwidth we've had.
No.
So what everyone else was spending building those things, building their kingdoms, building their whatever, we are building our children. We're building this life that in some ways I know is a vapor. And when we go, it goes. But we just know that this life presently is not all there is.
Right.
But so what all those people are, so I think sometimes people, we compare, we look around, right? Like I ought to be somewhere else and I don't have these tools. I wasn't given these giftings or whatever the case may be. But sometimes too, it's like our parents didn't like, we think about, it's like, well, skills weren't developed in us. We weren't told how to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So it took us way over half our life to develop that. And any margin we had, we were putting back into our kids. Financial margin, emotional, mental, you know what I mean? So it's like, I just think that we can so easily as families like this, or even just take that away, a marriage that came in with some really hard stuff. You feel like I ought to be somewhere else. And I just want to tell people, but are you further than you were? Because that's a miracle.
Exactly.
Are you, you know?
And it's so important to actually see that and to step away, right? Because you're on the inside looking out. It's hard to see.
So hard to
And
see.
so when you look at it, but I'm on the outside looking at you guys going, wow, you have a solid relationship and you have the support and the love and the honor for each other. And I think that if other people look at their marriage and they can see that and really look at it, you know, and not just be like, oh, we need this or that. It's like, no, you guys are already so far ahead and you're more rich than any person that's driving the nicest car and living in the nicest house.
What was,
Yeah, it really
what
is.
was that meme that you sent me? He's like, the memes he sent me said, I could have a Ferrari, but I'd rather stay home with my wife on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, see? It's so much better.
That's what success is.
Yeah.
Not a Ferrari.
That's what
It's
success
being
is.
able to,
Yes.
Right. Is our marriage. But I think it's just.
And it's a matter of perspective. You know, we can't play the cards we want. We have to play the cards we're dealt.
Right. We have to wrap up, but we're going to come back for another session because I could talk to you guys all day. Cool. And I know you have a lot to share, and we're so thankful that you are willing to.
Thanks for being brave.
Yes,
with me.
yes. It's pretty easy, but anyway, thank you very much, you guys.